Hello, viewers, and welcome back to Behind Closed Doors podcast series, Gender-Based Violence Meets Technology. We remain your host. I am Okachukwu.
My name is Noel Cass.
Welcome, and in this session, we'll be talking about gender-based violence and law. What does the Nigerian law say about gender-based violence? And before we proceed, just for the record, we are not lawyers, we are not legal practitioners, and we are not giving you legal advice. Everything we are saying here is to the best of our research and also to, make us rub minds together and see GBV from different perspectives of the laws in Nigeria. So, Noah, what do you think about the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and gender-based violence?
Well, first of all, I am a Nigerian. Definitely, I'm a patriot. I'm a citizen. So, based on what I've read, I understand that the Nigerian law around GBV sits on three pillars. As the Constitution, where we talk about the rights, dignity, and non-discrimination. Then we have other laws, such as the VAP law, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. I don't know if you're very familiar with it.
No, I'm not very familiar. I'm not very familiar with it. Just as you said, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015.
Yeah, so it seeks directly to the FCT Abuja.
Okay. You're asking me as if I'm right.
No, it's just that when
my lord, may you please this honorable court.
Okay. When I was reading about these laws and policies around GBV, especially the Nigerian law, is that VAP 2015 Act seems very prominent. It looks like every other part of the law is just readapting to the changes that come from the VAP law. I may be wrong, but it's just what I noticed, that with time there were changes, because the VAP said this and the VAP said that.
Okay, well, on that, but before I go into that, let me give honor to whom honor is due, with permission. You get, in addition to research, I've had a lot of counseling and rubbing minds with a good friend who has been in the legal world. So, human rights activists, KN Jackson, I want to say thank you for your guidance and the effort you put in getting me up to speed with this particular episode. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. So the VAP law, to the best of research and consultation, has the VAP law, to the best of research and consultation, is fully enforced in the FCT.
Yes.
Abuja, to be precise. And that is a law that, in addition to the criminal code and the penal code, the criminal code is enforced in the south, the penal code is enforced in the north. Please, I'm not a lawyer. Like I said, I want to say thank you to a very good friend, Nenobari Jackson Ojo, a social justice crusader and human rights activist, for his guidance. He really took out time to put us through in certain things. So I'm not a lawyer. In addition to the criminal code, the penal code, the VAP law is one major law that has been enacted of recent that really addresses gender-based violence and issues around gender-based violence. It prohibits all forms of violence in private and in public, covering physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, and economic abusers for the VAP law. Howbeit, a challenge is that not all states, the federal structure of the country, not all states have adopted the VAP law. But thankfully, our state, Imo State, has.
I feel like the main reason is that for the FCT, I think the issues there is different. So we are being asked to, the government of every state, not we, are being asked to domesticate this particular law in every state, in what works in every state, because the messages cannot be the same. But I heard that some states, like specifically two, has not actually taken this thing up to speed. In their no, I don't know why. I can't really tell. Could it be cultural differences?
Well, the domestication process has to go through legislations by the state assembly.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think Jigawa State was the first state to domesticate.
That's shocking.
Yes, and they've actually adjudicated upon an issue. I'm not a lawyer.
We're speaking law. I had to do that.
So, again, I want to thank my friend for his tutelage. So they've actually adjudicated upon an issue based on the domesticated version of the VAP Act.
So
you understand? And Imo State also has domesticated the VAP Act. The VAP Act is usually, how do I put it? Please don't push me into law class.
Okay, I won't, but I just want to know.
Okay.
One thing is, like, from the way we keep looking at the VAP Act, it looks like it's like the motherboard.
Okay, before we go further into the VAP Act, let's talk about the Constitution itself. Yeah. Which is the higher law that binds on all other laws in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, in Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, section 42. Okay. I quote, "A citizen of Nigeria of a particular community, ethnic group, place of origin, sex," mark the word sex. I get you, sir. Exactly. Religion or political opinion shall not, by reason only that he is such a person, then subsection A says, be subjected either expressly to disabilities or restrictions. In other words, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria frowns against gender-based violence. Okay. Depriving people of privileges or their rights based on the fact that they are of a particular sex or gender. Okay. Yes, it's a fundamental right. Okay. Yes.
It feels like I'm in class right now, because the way he just pointed it out, sex, this, that, it feels like, okay, you're gonna go back to your government's class and learn about Nigerian Constitution. But the thing is, a lot of people don't know that the non-discrimination is part of the Constitution. So before we could even get to GBV laws, you have to know the Constitution.
It is your constitutionally guaranteed right to be free from discrimination. Good. On the grounds of gender.
So how does the constitutional right of dignity have to do with GBV now? Since we are setting the base, we said GBV is set on Nigerian law around GBV is set on three pillars. Number one is the Constitution. So we can't ignore number one. So when you talk about rights of dignity, how do we set the pace or the base for that around GBV?
So before I still go about answering that, my dear friend and brother, Barry Jackson Podra, I want to say thank you for taking time to school us, if not. Now, enshrined in Chapter 4, every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has a right to the dignity of his person and shall not be subjected to inhumane treatment.
Thank you. That is exactly what I just wanted to hear.
Inhumane treatment.
So every inhumane treatment, it could be, hate speech.
Any form of inhumane treatment.
Verbal abuse.
Exactly.
Broke shaming a man.
Whichever one.
Anything that has to kill our dignity out there. So that's just wonderful.
Exactly.
Most of us, we are not really aware of this. So we are, as we're saying this together.
Based on research. I'm not a lawyer.
Based on research.
We are not
learning.
Legal practitioners. We are not giving you legal advice. Yes. So this is the stance of the
Yeah.
Constitution
Yeah.
of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is supreme in this
Yes.
jurisdiction,
Yeah.
and every other statutory laws and provision remains subject to the degree to which it does not conform to the Constitution. The Constitution prevails.
Yeah.
Hence, your right to dignity as a person and also your right to freedom from discrimination on the grounds of your gender
Yeah.
are protected
Yes.
by
Yes.
the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes, yes, that's very nice. That aside the constitution and the VAP law, there are other laws. We have the Child Rights
Child Rights
Act of
2003.
2020,
Yes.
23,
2003.
yes, 2003 if I'm right. Yeah, it has to do, no child should be subjected under inhumane treatment. That's
Yes.
still on the base,
Sexual
criminalizing
abuse,
the sexual abuse, child trafficking, child marriage, forced child marriage,
Exactly.
yeah. So all of these things should be considered around GBV, because when you look at the acts involved, I'm going to speak for the women. So on this case, we've been talking about the laws and the policies around GBV. We have sitting with us here, Mr. Udo Chuku, and he's been on the gender-based violence cases around the Imo State, and he's currently sitting on most of the committees around gender-based violence. We had his work, for example, Imo State Committee of Ending Gender-Based Violence Against Women and Girls. So, Mr. Udochukwu, we were talking about the laws and the policies around and Nigerian laws around GBV, and we mentioned the VAP, and we see VAP as a kind of a motherboard centered around the Constitution of Nigeria, and other laws are actually, it's been adapted. We are looking at all other laws. So, what do you think about the VAP sitting on, in the center as regards to GBV?
There are so many legal frameworks available.
Yeah.
If you're in the space, fighting for the rights of women and girls,
Yeah.
there are so many legal framework, as I said. Most times, what is lacking is in administration. Apart from VAP, which is violence against persons. So when people hear VAP, it is not just for women and girls. VAP is for everyone.
Yeah.
Because the word there says persons.
Yeah.
So men shouldn't be angry when they hear they are always defending the rights of women and girls.
Yeah.
The men's right, the boys' right is fully protected under the law. There is also what we have, what we call Imo State Administration of Criminal Justice Law, 2020. In fact, VAP was passed in 2021.
Yeah.
SCJL was passed in 2020. So SCJL is 1 year older. Imo State also has a child right protection. So if that's red written, for instance, the juvenile is a minor,
Yeah.
so you can also use Child Right Act to protect the rights of that victim. So yeah, many people think, okay, when we are pushing for VAP, Imo State's version of VAP as presented to the House was just to be the best, the most comprehensive, the most robust. Even though what we submitted didn't come out exactly as we wanted it, but after 2 years, the person alone, you have the window opens again for its review. So we can look at what is not consistent with best practices and go back to the House of Assembly for its review. Yeah, it wouldn't be wrong if you say our VAP law is more comprehensive and more encompassing.
Yeah.
So if there is a case that falls under violence against persons, instead of using some other laws that are limited in its definition of some terms, like rape was defined under the ACJ or is defined as penetration of a woman,
Yes.
a woman's private part, right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, under VAP, it is broadly, and the victim it is it's not just the woman. A man can be raped as well. So that is anybody who says okay, VAP seems to be the most comprehensive, the person may not be totally wrong. But all these frameworks work together to strengthen the case. So that if you escape through this particular one, you may not escape through this one. And that is why when you're charging a case as a victim or somebody who represents a victim, What we insist is you see your case file and understand what the police is filing, because sometimes they may get compromised and water down your case. So it is interconnected. It is a multi-stakeholder approach, because if you look at the health sector as well, the critical role they play in providing and securing evidence in terms of rape. So you go to a hospital to get your proforma, where a doctor can certify that there was a rape in the case of rape. But if you're not careful, what you will see is a sexual harassment. And sexual harassment doesn't carry the same weight
As rape.
as rape. So that is why you must scrutinize your own case. You may not have the dexterity as if you're not a lawyer. So you get a lawyer you can trust. If you don't have somebody you can trust, you can run to any of these NGOs, and you can be sure they will represent your rights.
Okay, you did make a statement that to avoid watering down the
Yes.
case, that is in favor of the perpetrator or the victim. That's number one. Like, are you saying that there have been cases where state actors deliberately undermine some acts and offenses just to give the perpetrator an escape route or something like that?
Yes, multiple cases.
Multiple cases.
Sometimes you see the connivance and it will be so glaring. Sometimes they deliberately delay, waiting for evidence to expire. Sometimes you check the case file. There was a case, it was a clear, in fact, it wasn't just a rape, it was a defilement because the victim was a minor. And the case, what we saw was sexual harassment.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, instead of defilement, it was
Instead of defilement.
Okay.
What the file was sexual harassment. And when a case involved maybe fighting, so there was a case of defilement. The parents confronted the perpetrator, or alleged or accused perpetrator. Then it became a family fight, right? What police fight was that fight?
And they left
And they left the men. So if you're not very careful, they can dribble you. And sometimes also medical doctors. Also, there is a medical doctor somewhere in Ingopala that has a history of watering down cases. So what you can do as an NGO, our work is also to hold institutions accountable. So what we do when we find out that someone is compromising, in their positions or responsibilities, we can write to authorities and seek redress.
I don't know justiciable actions that can be taken against such perpetrators. Drawing your attention to Chapter 4 of the Constitution, where each person is guaranteed the right to fair hearing, both perpetrator and victim.
Yes.
Like in this case, where state actors are obviously infringing on the right of the victim to justice by tampering with evidence that establishes their case. Is it not? Have there been efforts to bring such persons? That's number one, and then does the NGO have the how will I put it legal power to push for such?
So VAP also made provisions where duty holders, that's state institutions, the state actors in this case, they have a responsibility to make sure justice is done where there are evidence that the duty holder is compromising. The VAP law states clearly that they can even go to jail.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have, to an extent, a robust framework, but what we are lacking is, to a large extent, is its administration
and enforcement.
Exactly, that's what I mean by administration. Okay. So if you look at the current SCJ states that says, because even the accused also has a right under the law, you are innocent until proven guilty. Even the SCJ clearly says that states the procedures for interrogation. So if police arrest someone who is accused of rape, ACJL says the person must be provided a lawyer if the person can't afford one, and you must be interviewed, on record, so that your statement is not twisted tomorrow to mean something else that you didn't say. So, but when those equipment, when these lawyers are not provided, you see the gap.
Yes.
So you have a piece of legislation, but you can't fully implement it. For your information as well, VAP has empowers the state governor to constitute a body they call what's the name again? The agency. The agency has the sole responsibility to implement, do research, support full implementation of VAP in Imo State. Where the agency is not constituted yet, that's about 5 years after its passage.
Okay.
So that also means that VAP cannot be said to be in full operation. So it hasn't been fully operationalized. Imo State should have what we call sexual assault referral SAC, right? It's a center where a victim gets all the services. One terrible thing that happens to a victim is, okay, go to where it was for medical examination. Okay, go to police station at fire service. Okay, go to this court to file your case because you have to file within your jurisdiction where the thing happened. But what SAC provides is, one spot for all services.
Okay.
Makes it easier for the person.
Okay.
There is also what we call sexual assault register. If somebody is effectively or successfully convicted of sexual offenses, there should be a register. You can, if you want to employ someone now, right? If you inspire it once you employ someone, probably they are running a room, for instance, where young or juvenile victims of rape, taken care of. The last thing you want to do is to have someone who has a criminal record to work there. But the VAP law provides a register. Up to now, we don't have that register. So when we have convictions and people are not, names are not on the register, the person can go out tomorrow and commit another crime. Yeah. So if a young girl, or a young boy wants, to start a new relationship, it's also advised that you check the records of someone, right? So if I have a rape victim, you don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So whether it is professional, whether it's business or personal relationship, intimate relationship.
Yeah.
If you do due diligence to search for the record of your partner, it is very important, and that is why VAP provided that register. We don't have it yet. So we can say VAP, as good as it is, it hasn't been fully operationalized.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah,
Would you say that?
to what extent? We have been begging the governor, and probably if I can use this opportunity to beg the Imo State governor as well, to constitute the agency.
Okay.
The agency will go a very long way because the agency, VAP law specifies who should be a member of the agency, about 15 representatives there. So it is robust. From civil society to media, to youth-based women and state institutions like the Ministry of Women Affairs, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Health, all these people, the National Human Rights Commission, the Nigerian Police, and all that. So if we have the agency and they can fully, make sure that Indian states, reap the full benefits of that.
Sure.
Well, thank you. That was very beautiful. Thank you very much for your education on this. When you keep mentioning the VAP law in Imo State, when you mention a law, it's for the people,
Sure.
by the people, for the government, from the government too. Now look at it in this case, we're in the southeast and we have some cultural things that we do believe, some cultural beliefs that we have. Now, in your field, you've seen a lot of cases, but I want to know if you've seen cases where there is a community, rejection or withdrawal from a GBV case based on what they believe.
Sure.
Because I know that there are challenges like that come up. So what do VAP have to say about that kind of cultural ban or cultural belief a society brings up in addressing the GBV case?
And justifying it.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of the worst crimes against women that our culture seems to promote.
Yeah.
Female genital mutilation.
Yes.
Which is, unfortunately, Imo State is number one in Nigeria. Yeah, that is what we call type 4. Yes, FGM. the one they use term to numb the girls' private parts. So it is cultural, right? And one difficult thing with it is it is done in a private space most times. So if you are trained to police your environment, because we encourage everyone to police the environment in the best interest of the most vulnerable members of society. So if you hear a child crying bitterly, a girl child, so your neighbor gave birth to a daughter, it becomes a responsibility to check. You can't barge into their house to check this. But if there is severe cries in the morning and evening, it's most likely when they are, the child, they're giving birth to the child, bathing the child. They do this most times. So if there is severe cries morning and evening, and it is consistent over time, you know something wrong is happening. You can call someone who has authority. You can come in of human affairs who has authority to go and say, we want to see the baby just get birth. We want to be sure nothing of such is happening. So, and when you move into, educate or hold the parents accountable, yeah, they say this is our culture. This is what our mothers did. This is how we grew up. But people should understand that when your culture is conflict with the law, your culture takes backstage. There's no two ways about it. Even if they say, hey, the spirits of this land will kill all of us, unfortunately, the gods are not Nigerian citizens. The law has a responsibility to protect only Nigerian citizens, not the rights of the gods. Why you have the right to practice your faith, that faith, that practice should not infringe on another person's rights. Good. Another thing that's happened within our cultural space is harmful widowhood practices. Right? The same thing applies. You cannot justify a crime, by saying it is your culture. So when women's rights are violated, under the guise of our culture, it's not difficult to prosecute. So you bring the law. And that's why we encourage people to begin to adjust what they call culture and practice. There's a difference between culture and practice. The things people practice is not necessarily our culture. But there are also obnoxious cultures that we need to abolish. Forcing women to drink water from their dead husband's bath to prove their innocence has been criminalized. So anybody going ahead with that is a criminal, and they put the back law and even the what do you call it, ACJL, can punish such under this law. So yeah, we have good legislations with this limitation, but if we can be honest in its application, we can go very far in protecting the rights of women and girls. And then we should also understand that when you stand up for other people's rights, and in fact, that's the best way you can defend your rights is to stand up for other people's rights. Because when your own right comes under attack, you may not be able to defend yourself. So when we collectively fight a crime, it makes it difficult for criminals to succeed. The worst thing you want to hear or see in your environment is when the criminal walks around and says nothing will happen. It breaks the victim. So when such things happen, we collectively fight it. And what I tell people, gender-based violence is power-based violence. People usually target those who feel they are more powerful. When you hear an abusive husband say he has high temper, hot temper, but if a female military officer slaps that man, so he gets and the hot temper takes over him at home. But when there is equal power, when you know there are consequences, you begin to interrogate your decision even before you act, right? So, yes, perpetrators do this thinking or knowing nothing will happen. But when they know who will come after them, they have everything.
That's very good. Thank you. Well, since we have you here, let me just throw one more question. We are in a digital world now. There's this thing called the digital space. We have the social media, we have Facebook, and all of that. And I don't know if you're familiar with this term, technology facilitated gender-based violence, where someone comes online and throws abusive words or things, even down to cyber stalking, cyber crime. So now we have this Cybercrime Act that guides against gender-based violence online. Now, VAP is so vast. So let's assume actually there is a link between the cybercrime, the one done online, digital abuse, and VAP, where the both of them correlate. So is it possible for people think that they can do things online and get away with it? So is it possible for these two laws to come together for something like called a dual prosecution against the person that instigated CMGBV?
Yeah. Okay. One thing people should understand is digital spaces are spaces as well.
Yeah.
It has become part of our reality. So it's either you're acting in the virtual space or physical. In fact, young people now spend more time engaging their virtual communities than physical. Even homes, on dining table, people are online. We hardly had conversation one-on-one these days. So it is a thing now. So you can't commit crime there and say no. If you commit crime within Nigerian digital space, it's within the jurisdiction, and our laws are applied to you.
Okay.
There is a case it's still in court. Young people, I won't mention the institution yet, but they're undergraduates in one of the institutions in Imo State. What they did, they have the syndicate. They will, initiate a relationship with a young girl who is also a student. And when that person accepts them as an intimate friend, then they secretly film them when they are naked, then share it among themselves and use it to blackmail them. And if you don't allow me to sleep with you, I'm going to release your picture, and we've got them right. So their crimes are both physical spaces and digital spaces. So there are adequate laws to prosecute them. We are why one what you can't get is prosecuting one crime, multiple times, but you can have multiple counts of a crime, right? So if you want to prosecute someone using for this example I gave now, using cyber crime law, you may not be able to effectively prosecute from the physical part of it. So you look at the legal framework available to you and see which one best gives you the opportunity to have a maximum punishment for the criminal. Because if you are a prosecutor, you want maximum punishment, right? So what prosecutors do is to check different laws and check which one to use. There is also effort to harmonize, because when they are conflicting, you are not sure what these prosecutors will use. If you're not careful, they use the one that prescribes lesser punishment, and before you know it, the criminal is let loose. And what happened in one of the cases we had was the so-called pastor drugged a woman and raped her, a church member. Under that law, that punishment would be more than 20 years, but the judgment was about 8 years. So if you are not very careful, they will use other laws that will not give you maximum, punishment for such certain crimes. Yeah. So even as a complainant, you need to work closely with your lawyer. If you have any reason to think they do not represent your interest, you have every right to drop the lawyer, right? And make sure you understand what the law says about your rights, because we are the front line of defending our rights. Even before the state comes in, you need to know what the law says about your rights, so that you can demand for its protection.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the insights that we have gained from you. Thank you so much, Mr. Udochukwu Chukwu.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.